Greetings. This is Scholar Saunders Singh. What's current? Today is a very interesting day. Very interesting date and time. Today we mark the 82nd anniversary of the horrible events of Pearl Harbor, the Japanese attack on the United States. And what has been said was when a sleeping giant was awakened. I'm paraphrasing that, of course. Rick James, I'm not even going to acknowledge you right now. This is. I'm trying to be serious, very serious right now. I just watched, parts of an excellent short, documentary called Black Tears of Pearl Harbor, and it is just basically one naval historian that covered the day when the bombs fell from the sky from Japanese planes. The heroism of people like man of color at this point in time in 1941. Man of color Doris Dory Miller received the second highest award you can possibly receive or earn in the United States Armed Forces, and from the Navy or the Marines, the Navy Cross. So I like to point him out, especially, not in the sense of racism or anything, because he encountered much racism. And during that period, there wasn't very much high-ranking, black men in amongst the ranks. He was just in the mess hall. He was just in the galleys. He was a cook, to be blunt, but he showed heroism by manning one of the guns. And at least this hasn't been certified. This hasn't been made absolutely credible. But it has been said that he shot down at least 2 enemy Japanese aircraft. So salute to Dory Miller. I think they might have upgraded it actually. Maybe I think they named it a ship after him. As a matter of fact, the Navy did. Doris Miller ship, one of the ships in the Navy that was just came out of the fleet. Anyway, that's not my main point for today. My main point is, like, why do we care, or why don't we care? Why do we even go? Oh well, yeah, Pearl Harbor. Wasn't there a movie, Josh Hartnett movie about that or something? Wasn't there? Like that's about as close as we get to being in understanding what Pearl Harbor meant. We have what was it? I'm trying to think. Hold on, let me do the math. It was 60 years. 60 years to the date for September 11, 2001. We do a lot of things for September 11, 2001. We do the ringing of the bell whenever the aircraft hit the buildings. We do it when Flight 93 crashed into the ground, when it hit the buildings in New York and Washington. And then we read off all the names. That's become our ritual. Will that ever die out? Will that ever stop? I mean, Congress made it an official date, and it's especially that you say day and date. President Roosevelt said Sunday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy, not a day. There's a difference. When you have the exact date, the date at which it occurred, that's important to say. That's important to point out, because when you have a day like today, I'll talk about this later, but when you have a day, D-A-Y, not D-A-T-E, you have to be able to, enjoy life and go on. It's Christmas time. It's all about the holidays. Everybody's having parties. Everybody's having a good time. Yeah, you're shopping. You're going out. You're with your friends. Nobody's thinking about Pearl Harbor like that. To be honest, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be blunt and to be harsh like that. But that's just the facts. This is the truth. And I'm glad there are at least documentaries. There are the movie was mediocre. The film Pearl Harbor wasn't that great. It didn't even do well at the box office. It was made for like $100 million or $150 million. Only took in like 80. I'm not even sure. Let me make sure. because people be like, "Oh, he got that wrong. He got that wrong." Let me make sure how much this thing made. And it featured Ben Affleck, Josh Hartnett, Kate Beckinsale, Jennifer Garner, Alec Baldwin, Cuba Gooding Jr. I mean, it just it had all the makings of a great film, but it just didn't hold water. It took in a good amount of money, but it wasn't as much as they expected it to. It was made for 140 million, took in about 450.2 million. So it was okay. It was pretty good. It wasn't like it didn't take in a billion or something like that. It was a success. Um, but it was not nominated for for anything. Mostly it was nominated for Golden Raspberry Awards or Razzies, including Worst Picture. It was nominated for that, but it was also nominated for 4 Academy Awards. So it's one of those weird, kind of strange, ideals for a movie um, to come out and have Oscar nominations and Razzies at the same time. But it's been criticized for its story, long runtime, screenplay, and dialogue, pacing, and performances, and historical inaccuracies. I'm getting all this from Wikipedia. Although the visual effects and Hans Zimmer's score were praised. So it's just a shame. So it, it's a shame that even a movie couldn't save Pearl Harbor, the memory of Pearl Harbor, and there's such a scant amount of survivors from Pearl Harbor. There was on that date, Sunday, December 7th, 1941, over 2,400 people perished, both military and civilian, and a good portion of those numbers are still entombed. Their remains are still entombed inside the ships that were sunk, including the Arizona and I think parts of the Utah. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. I could have inaccuracies. I try to do as much homework as I could, but in all, we have to recognize, we have to see, for ourselves. We have to remember. This is the day of remembrance. And what do? You care. You give a damn. You look up. You do it. You see an article. You read an essay. You watch a documentary. About that day. Like I said, the Black Tears of Pearl Harbor is excellent. It's only 15 minutes long, so you can look it up. I'll put it in the live chat. I'll put a link to it in the live chat. It's an excellent mini doc. It's excellent. It's called The Black Tears. Black Tears of Pearl Harbor. So it's an excellent movie. I recommend it to everybody. And you know what the reference is? The Black Tears. It's the oil. It's the oil that it emits from the sunken ship every now and then, and the people that observe it have named them the Black Tears that have surfaced from the many men and mainly men who perished, who were killed on during that time period. Now, what is it that we should be remembering? We should be remembering the heroism, like I said, of Dory, um, Miller, and others among them. And there's too many to name. There's so many people that were very um, heroic that day. There's a gentleman named last name Kale. I miss his first name, but yeah. So Doris Miller is probably one of the key components who led the charge to gunning down allegedly the many ships that were over Pearl Harbor. So you have to really take into account all of these different things. It's a very important date. I always say September, December 7th, 1941. Sunday. It was a Sunday. It was a day of recreation. It was a day, where you sleep in. Maybe you get up for breakfast. Maybe you go out for a run. You work out. They weren't expect. This was nobody was expecting this at all. There's a famous occurrence with one of the this is a famous occurrence with um one of the naval enlisted men. He cracked open uh armory where they held rifles, and they were firing them. They had bandoliers of ammunition. He was passing them out. He was passing them out. And one of the chiefs, one of the masters, chiefs of the Navy, went up to him and said, "What are you doing? I'm out to court martial you. You can't use the weapons." I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, we're not at war." And he said, "Well, look around. It looks like we're at war now." It's like, what are you talking about? I mean, and they dropped the court martial. They said they gave him cigarettes and candy after that. But I mean, that was the horrific mindset that they were in at that point in time. And a lot of people have to remember this day, this date, Sunday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. I mean, that's still to this day. It's infamous day. And what precipitated that was the fact that we went into World War II. We were like, Germany's crazy. Hitler's off of his stool. He's definitely way out of here. He's crazy. He's messing around with Europe. But we're not gonna. That's not our fight. We're not in that. We're not in that fight. I mean, and Japanese tied their ties with Italy and Germany, and they became the Axis powers, and then the Allied powers, which is quote unquote Russia, Great Britain, and United States of America as the allies. It was about that was the turning point. That was the key moment where it was like, all right, we're in World War II. This is what Tom Brokaw calls the greatest generation. Maybe, I mean, why are they the greatest generation? Because they fought a war. I mean, that's questionable. That's very questionable. Why they're the greatest generation? That's really what they're called is the GI generation, the military generation. There was over 16 million people that served in World War II. 16 million in United States servicemen members, men and women. They were called the WACs. In the Army, the women air or in the air, what they called before the Air Force, the Women Air Corps, or Army Corps, Women Army Corps. But yeah, it was very sad. It was a very sad and serious situation. And what can we do? What can we do? That's the question. What can we do to not celebrate? I mean, it's a weird thing too, because it's like in 82 years, I haven't seen, well, we've got a Pearl Harbor, blockbuster sale. It wasn't like, everybody's all cheery, like it's Pearl Harbor Day, like what we do with Memorial Day. It's weird. That's how weird it is. Memorial Day is a strange holiday because we're remembering the dead, like on December 7th, 1941, and thereafter, because people were killed or died, days later, trapped and entombed into those ships. That's serious. That's pretty profound. So what we have to always acknowledge are the fact that people in this country, in the United States of America, have to respect, at least, just care, just respect, care, understand what happened on Sunday, December 7th, 1941. You have to have some sense of caring. You have to have it because it's part of our history. It's part of our knowledge. It's part of our reality. It's not taught, in school that much. I had to learn about Doris Miller from a movie, like Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character, Dory Miller. His character had to be, shown, exploited in a film. Like that shouldn't happen. That should happen in schools and in different TV, programs and in books and stuff like that. I mean, I'm sure there are mountains of books now about Pearl Harbor, but it's really sad. It's really sad that we have this. I mean, I think it's because we try to get away from it. We try to get away from the idea of December 7th, 1941. We try to get away from the fact that it's so close to the holidays that we're so mind warped, so mind sullied. I don't like to use the name brainwashed. That could be a good thing. Your brain was washed of soot and dirt and grime, but your mind sullied. That's the part where we are. We're mind sullied into thinking that, oh, it's okay. I mean, it's just another day, whatever. I got to go shopping. I got to pick up some more gifts for my nephews and nieces. I got to go shop for my grandma. I have to go to the store. I have to go. It's amazing to me how there hasn't been a sale, a Pearl Harbor sale. These prices are dropping like bombs out of the sky. Like, I'm so surprised that hasn't happened yet. It's not happened yet in America in 82 years. I'm at least proud to say that. America hasn't, sullied the day or the date. They haven't brought it to a point where it's, a day to just be frivolous and, okay, yeah, a few thousand people were killed, well, yada, 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 who cares, whatever. I got to go shopping, la, 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 Merry Christmas, ha, 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 Happy New Year. Keith checking on it. I respect Keith. I respect Rick James too, because he ordered Rick James. Rick James ordered Greg S. Greg S, I'm serious right now, sir. But Keith says Black Americans and Japanese Americans made major contributions in World War II. True, but I would celebrate the Black American, contributions and look down upon the contributions of the enemy. That's true. And I know they have, they're awarded Japanese people, military men, and I guess they had women too, but mainly military men were, awarded various medals and honors. But I can't condone that. I'm not gonna sit up here and say, well, goddamn, the Japanese should be, commended for their efforts over Pearl Harbor. It's not gonna be me. I can never say that. I'll never form my lips to say that, in truth. But definitely Black Americans. Like, Dory Miller is just one component. There may have been dozens. Excuse me for shaking that right there. But there could have been dozens of Dory Millers, and we'll never know about them. We just know about Doris Miller, a Black man, a man of color, who stood up for his country, for the nation that spit in his face, that denied him, his rights and his privileges as an American citizen when he got back home from fighting for his country. That's the sad part. That's the sick and twisted part that we always have to showcase. I mean, I'm no longer a Spike Lee supporter like that. I say a few of his films are watchable, but he at least in Miracle at St. Anna painted the portrait of how military Black men were treated worse than white German officers in wartime when we were fighting against them in Europe. They were treated worse. Black, men of color in American uniforms were treated worse than their German counterparts in many places around this country, and across and overseas. So, World War II was a huge, humongous, gargantuan turning point in history. It is the deadliest war of all time. It took over, I think, 150 million lives, something like that, combined, of all the countries, of all the nations, and everyone around. I think it's 150, something like that. I could be wrong. Again, don't get me wrong. Don't get me lying out here. But it's somewhere around there of civilians and military men. I think America was like 450,000 men who were killed out of the 16 million who served. This is serious stuff right here, man. This is serious. This is reality. This is truth. Keith says the Tuskegee Airmen and black soldiers were a major factor that America was able to defeat Hitler. Amen. That's all I'm going to say. Amen. Facts. Truth. But I want to stay focused on December 7th because I know I deviated a little bit. That's a little bit my fault. I blame myself. But I was just trying to illustrate and try to bolster my point about Pearl Harbor. It's the fact that there's still men that are trapped in those vessels under the water. Their remains are they may have dissolved probably by now, but for the most part they're still under there. We have to remember that, and it's just like September 11th in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, 60 years is the difference. 60 years is the difference between 1941 and 2001. There's very clear parallels between December 7th, 1941 and September 11th, 2001. Very clear parallels. And the sickness is our response to what happened on September 11th, 2001. That's disturbing. What we did in World War II was righteous. We went to Manila. We had Midway. We had the Pacific. We had all of those in line. We had Iwo Jima. All of those, and we fought. We fought in the sands. We fought in the sea, and we conquered. We lifted up. There's that famous, they had a movie about that, Flags of Our Fathers. We lifted up the flag over Mount I don't want to say it. Let me make sure. Let me make sure I say it right, because if I say it wrong, I'll be pissed at myself. Okay, yeah, I'm right. Yeah, Mount Suribachi. So that was a major battle. It's for the Battle of Iwo Jima. It's raising the flag over Iwo Jima. That's an iconic image that helped out the war effort. It made people believe like, oh my God, we're winning. We're actually winning this. We're actually having a fight. Because it was looking kind of, it was looking kind of down. It was looking like we had lost a few battles. It was sometimes, we didn't do as well. But they turned it around. They said, you know what? We're going to capture this mountain. We're going to capture this mountain. And we're going to raise the American flag over to let you know. And it's been encapsulated and enshrined. And in Washington, D.C., there's a large memorial of Marines and naval personnel lifting up the flag. And that's part of our history. That's part of our national history, not just the Marine Corps history, but national history, United States of America. And that was in the same spirit as December 7th, 1941. It was in that same spirit, the spirit of people that were fighting on that day, that fought back. They knew with the rifles, they didn't have a chance against aircraft, but they had the spirit, that spirit of, I don't give a damn. We're going to do whatever the hell we can do to make sure that we can secure this. We can hold these vessels down. That's what the hell we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. I don't give a goddamn. I know this rifle ain't nothing against these aircraft, but I'm going to show them that we had something to do. We did something. We didn't just, oh, well, come on and bomb us. Sit back with our hands tied behind our backs. All right, so Keith is going where I was about to go in the next few minutes. He says, if we are going to talk about Pearl Harbor, then by default, we have to talk about Hiroshima and Nagasaki also, the Manhattan Project. I was just about to get to it. I got a few more minutes left. I was going to wait until at least 25 minutes, but he stole my thunder. Yeah, I was just about to say that. The response, when I was talking about earlier, the response of September 11th, the response of September 11th was a paltry, disgusting mess. We built, schools and sewer systems and all this stuff. Very altruistic, very selfless, very unselfish, all kinds of things like that. Were we like that for August 6, 1945? I don't think so. And that was the first nuclear bomb ever dropped and it was on Japan, and it humbled them. It demoralized them. Okay, we had already won battles, 1944 onward, and then 1945 came, and that was the end of the war. It was VE Day. We had won in Europe. Hitler committed suicide. It was it. He checked himself out. Then they blew up the Nazi sign. It was over for the European front. And Italy just, what was Mussolini? He was hung from his feet or something like that. He was hung upside down from his feet. He was done. Italy was over. It was done. But VJ Day, that was it. That's what we needed to have. And we did not have a I don't know what, Saudi Arabia SA Day or VI Day, victory in Iran, which it should have been. Victory even in Afghanistan. We didn't have a VA Day, another VA Day. We didn't have any of those days. We just had, we put in a few hits in here and there, and we mostly got our ass kicked. We kind of won, but we lost in a sense, and mostly we lost. That big mess of Iraq and Afghanistan were just horrific, completely horrific, disgusting, and despicable. Just terrible, horrible. We should be ashamed of ourselves. I'm saying we as a nation, but the leaders, especially the leaders, from George W. Bush to Biden, to Obama, to Trump, to Biden, all of them should be held accountable. If you want to, impeach somebody, impeach George W. Bush, impeach Obama, impeach Trump again, impeach Biden for those paltry, ugly, altruistic, selfless, displays that they offered, and didn't have the backbone, the spine, the balls to be a human being, the mind, the brains to be a president to lead us to victory. We just limped away from it. We just limped away. And not to mention Korea and Vietnam. More acts of selflessness and self-sacrifice. Evil. Men and women dying because of the leaders who made terrible, horrific ideas. But I say this, on August 6th, 1945, that was a great day for America. Not saying that for, to be happy and joyous, but just a solemn, yes, that's right. Keith says the dropping of the A-bomb sent a clear and serious message to the rest of the world after World War II. Yes, sadly, it didn't send a message to us. Ironically, it didn't send it to us. Ironically, it said for us to be, altruists, to care about the other person, to build schools and sewer systems and roads instead of bombing them into oblivion. That's our sin. That's our great error as Americans. And that can't be, it can't be erased. It can only be documented. It can only be seen in movies and television and books and newspaper articles and essays and everything like that. Whenever somebody picks up a pen, that's the only time that can happen. And they say, winners write the history. No, we didn't win in Iraq. We didn't win in Afghanistan. Those are facts. That's sad truths. We didn't win. We didn't win. We just limped away, acted like everything was all right, everything was okay. We only go by how many people were murdered, were slaughtered. How many people were killed? So many civilians were killed. And that's it. But, going back to December 7th, 1941, it was a Sunday. Beautiful day. You're in paradise. It's Hawaii. And you wake up to hell. And there were brave men and women who stood up and challenged, even with meager means, whatever means they could. There were waves. There were waves of aircraft. The first wave, okay, that pretty much took them out. That pretty much took out most of the battleships, took out most of the other fleet. But that second wave, they weren't ready for Dory Miller. They weren't ready for Doris Miller. his spirit. They weren't ready for I can't think of his name, Kale. It was I think something Kale. They weren't ready for Kale. So that's what's so beautiful about their spirit, their fighting spirit. And that's what should be remembered on about Sunday, December 7th, 1941. Okay. Now it is time to celebrate. This is the unfortunate nature of the state of Delaware. Now I know it was hundreds of, I think it was 100, what was it, 1787? Yeah, 154 years. 154 years before December 7th, 1941, Delaware came into existence. It was the first state to ratify the Constitution. The first state, not the second, not the 50th, the first. And we should celebrate that. We should celebrate the fact that the Constitution, probably the second most, important or valuable political document in human history after the Declaration of Independence. Because if there were no Declaration of Independence, there wouldn't be the Constitution. So the Constitution and the 10 Bill of Rights, the 10 rights of the Bill of Rights, it reminds me of even yesterday with the passing of Norman Lear. He stood up. I think he had the money. He purchased one of the original or the actual original documents of the Constitution. So that's very important to say. That's very important. So I say happy birthday, Delaware. So, because I was born in the state, I was raised in the state. God damn it, I tried to get out of the state twice. In the Marine Corps, I tried to get out of here. I tried to go on different places. I went to South Carolina, North Carolina, Mississippi, Arizona, California. I was stateside. I never was deployed. But yeah, so I tried to do that. I come back home because I went crazy, lost my mind, got bipolar disorder. They're like, we don't really need you much anymore. You're damaged goods. We don't need you. Get the hell out of here. Here's your TDRL, temporary disabled retirement list money. Live on this for a few months, and then we're going to take that away and then give you a percentage. Here's 10%, which is like $110 a month. That's a bill. I guess that's a bill, But they gave me that, and I'm at home and I'm working, a 9 to 5 as a server in Starbucks, and a cashier. And I'm like, this is not, I'm not feeling this. Let me go crazy again. Let's go crazy again. So my journey started over again. I go to Coatesville, and then I go to Coatesville, Pennsylvania. Then I go to Bedford, Massachusetts. Then I go to Brockton, Massachusetts. Then I go to Northampton, Massachusetts. And then I take my dumb ass back to Delaware. So it's like Godfather 3. Every time I try to get away, they pull me back in. I did my terrible impression. I don't even think I had the right words. But happy birthday, Delaware. Yeah. It's sad. It's a shame. This is another, quirk of history. It's just a quirk of history that, the events of December 7th, 1941 had to occur on the same day of Delaware's birthday. It's a shame. It's sad. It's just what happens. It's what it is. It's reality. But I've been celebrating all day. I've been, reading different stories about Delaware, reading how the nickname, the first state, came into existence, or it was established as the official nickname in 2002 by a elementary school class, I think it was. So, it's just little things like that, that warm my mind. I don't like to say warm my heart because your heart is just a glorious pump. But happy birthday, Delaware. It's a shame, you had to share your birthday with, such sad and completely devastating events as what happened on December 7th, 1941. But it's it's something that still has to be celebrated by all Americans. Everybody should celebrate. It's the first one you can remember. What's the 15th state to enter the Constitution? What's the 42nd state to ratify the Constitution? What's the second state to ratify the Constitution? I know that it's Pennsylvania, but or is it? Wait a minute. I might have got that wrong. Hold on. Let me make sure. I gotta make. I gotta see. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm saying. I gotta make sure. I'm gonna look it up right now. That's what I'm doing right now. If you are wondering, second state. Yeah, it is. I was right. I had to make sure. Sometimes you gotta double check your work. But yeah. So, but you can always remember the first state. What's the first thing that comes to mind? Delaware. No matter what. And of course, we're made fun of all the time on SNL. We're made fun of in the movie Wayne's World. We're in Delaware. Yeah, all right, whatever. Like they didn't have any flair, and they're in other states. They're like, whoa, we're in Hawaii. Whoa, we're in Illinois. Whoa, we're in California. We're in Delaware. And then it just stops. It just falls flat. Nobody really cares about Delaware. It's a flyover state. It's a drive-through state. It only takes about maybe I think it's 3 hours from Sussex County, which is the lowest county. Talking on a map, and then there's Kent County and there's Newcastle County. And I think it takes like 2.5 hours or 3 hours to go from one end of the state to the next, from south to north. I'm pretty sure that was something that I read before. But happy birthday, Delaware. It's your day. Do your thing, girl. Drop it low. Get your eagle on. There should be, I don't know if there are. There probably are sales. There probably are sales around the country, that celebrate Delaware and its founding, and continue to push forth the idea of what it means to be a Delawarean. That's one of the best things that has ever happened to me. I think Delaware is a great state because it's boring. It's whack. It's supposed to be. It's flat. There are no. I think up until a point there were no national forests or parks. There shouldn't be national forests or parks anyway, but that's a different story. But yeah, we're all about industry. That's the beauty too. We're like money. People want money. People love having money. People love getting money. But how do you get it? I have to work. I have to do this. I better go on a game show or something. And I still have to work on a game show. What? Like, it's disturbing. It's very sad. It's very sad. It's despicable the way we treat ourselves. I think Delaware has a great abundance of, we're the credit card company, credit card capital, we're the chemical capital, and we're the corporate capital of the United States. Three major things about industry and creating and making and building. And famous things that we're famous for. We're famous for DuPont. I know people don't say it with the T, but I'm just saying DuPont. They made everything from Teflon to Kevlar. The no stick pan and the headgear that goes on your head to protect you from rounds. And Gore, the company Gore, Gore-Tex. Where does that come from? Delaware. And of course, there's people, that are very famous that come from Delaware. Aubrey Plaza, John Gallagher, Sean Patrick Thomas. Valerie Bertinelli was born here. She's been all over the place because she was a military brat. But just a handful of people, even going back to history. Caesar Rodney, Thomas McKean, or McCain, I think it is. It might be McKean or McCain. Just a whole lot. Black Cuddy, salute to Black Cuddy. I haven't been saluting because I was talking about some serious stuff. I was talking about December 7th, 1941. But Black Cuddy's on the check-in. Respect. Don't forget that donation. And if you need help, here's my Cash App. Because I want to get money on Delaware's birthday. What do you mean Delaware ain't got nothing on Cali? Of course. Cali's got everything. Are you serious? My niece went to Delaware State. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's HBCU. But what do you mean Delaware ain't got nothing on Cali? Are you saying it's not as boring as Cali, or is it more boring? Because Cali is like the most hot, like the hottest state in the union. Like, it's got beaches, it's got mountains, it's got cities and fairways and rural areas and Cali's just geographically speaking is great, but I mean you can't even match, the abundance of industry, compared to Delaware. I understand that. If that's what you're saying, the industry, I mean, it's like a plethora. It's a wellspring of different industries, from entertainment to vegetables to anything, to tourism. I mean, what is the tourism compared to Cali and Delaware? I want to know. Somebody look that up. See how many millions and billions that Cali receives, just on the level of tourism. And you still didn't do it right, Black Cuddy. You meant to say went. You said win. It's okay. We're moving fast. It's a whole game. I know. And Keith says, and lots and lots and lots of snow bunnies. Yes, I'm a big fan of the snow bunnies. I do enjoy the wider flesh of a lady. Yeah. So happy birthday, Delaware. I can say it all day. I'll say it all day. Happy birthday to Delaware. You've earned it. You've earned your place. You are number one. You're the first one. And a lot of people say, oh, it was just a technicality. They just happened to have the right. Bullshit. Whatever. Delaware put it down as the first state, the first one to do it. And that's what counts. That's what the reality is. You have to name one state, and the first state to ever enter the union, or not even that. It wasn't even really a union at that time. It was just to ratify the Constitution. So Delaware was the first one to do it, and I'm just celebrating all day. I've been telling people, we have a throw on our couch, and it's got this flag, and it's got the date on it underneath. And I'm just like, December 7th. Man, why does it gotta be December 7th? But it's what it is. It's just a fact of reality. It's just a fact of history, a little quirk of history, that it had to happen on the same day, and the same, not the same date, but the same day. See, you have to be careful with how you pronounce it. But it happened on the same day as Pearl Harbor. So for Delaware to be the number one, it had to earn a spot, and it certainly has earned a spot, because who do we have now as president? I didn't vote for him, and I never will, and I never have. President Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. I, I can't say I ever voted for him, and he's probably going to go down as one of the worst presidents of all time from Delaware. He's like the poster child for mediocrity. He's like kind of good, but mostly really, really bad, and then he does something kind of good, and it just, and you only the vote for him. The only reason why he's in office is because he's not as bad as Trump. He's not as terrible as Trump. That's all he can hang his hat on. Well, at least I'm not as bad as a monster. That's all I can say. I'm not as bad as. I'm not as terrible as a complete, cluster, what? A complete, train wreck, a dumpster fire, whatever you want to say. So that's all he can say. He can't say much else. He can't say a whole lot because he'll probably, go to take a nap while saying it at the same time. I mean, this guy should be, sitting at home eating Werthers with his grandkids. Instead, he's trying to run a nation, the most powerful nation in the history of humankind. Okay? He's at the helm. That's sad. We need to have people like Nikki Haley come on board and have her, steer the ship, see what she can do about it. That would be amazing. That would be absolutely, ideal. Keith says, I will give credit to Biden for ending the Afghan war. That's like giving credit to the not the all black. I'm not. Oh yeah. I'm wearing all black. Dot Focus is definitely on the check-in. He's got a wrench. I gotta say what's up to him. I'm about to get back to Keith though, but Dot Focus, salute and happy birthday too. You're from you lived in Delaware for a little while, didn't you? You lived in Delaware for how long? How long did you live in Delaware? But I want to get while you're answering that, I'm gonna get back to Keith. That's like saying the drunk that injured somebody and went over and went to help them in their car. That's kind of like what you're saying with Biden ending the war. Oh, he's on the train almost to Newark. Okay, I see you. That's like Biden ending the Afghan war is like saying the drunk that went to help the driver who was paralyzed and in a car wreck. You call you or maybe not be the best analogy, but or somebody he was like a passenger. He was a passenger to George W. Bush, who got us into the Afghan war, and he was I don't know. I have to think about a proper recognition, but it's get what I'm saying is Biden did not really end the war in Afghanistan. He limped away from the Afghan war. He really shouldn't get that. He's saying, "Come on, man. I'm serious. I'm telling you the truth. He did not end the Afghan war properly. Properly speaking, he just limped away the best he could. You know." You saw the pictures. You saw the people hanging off the daggone aircraft trying to get the hell out of there. If we had ended on that note, there wouldn't be people trying to get off of on our aircraft. There would probably be people trying to live the best lives they could in a squalor that they live in, you know. But of course, they probably live better than some Americans because we built schools and sewer systems and uh, built up infrastructure in certain places in Afghanistan. Didn't do too much for America, which they shouldn't, but I'm just giving you an example. It's called desperation. That's exactly what it was called. It was a desperate move on his part. It was a very desperate move. So happy birthday, Delaware, regardless. And I'll say it's a funny word to say. It's not really a word, but irregardless. It's celebrate your day, girl. Do your thing. Twerk something on your birthday. Happy birthday, Delaware. Happy birthday, Delaware. Get it twerking, Delaware. Get it twerking. It's just a quirk of history that we have to share from the date that will live in infamy. Remember, the date is different from the day. The day doesn't have to live in infamy. The date lives in infamy. That's a very subtle difference, but you have to point it out. You have to be aware of it. So yeah, so it's all about having the idea of being able to say so the Afghan. Oh well, yeah, the Afghan people was desperation too because they didn't have anywhere else to go. They're going to live in one of the worst conditions you can possibly imagine. Yeah, but people were reminded of, the helicopter that fell off of the ship when people were trying to escape to go to from Vietnam. That whole fiasco with that. I mean, it's the same. It's similar. Similarities are very striking, striking parallels, very striking. But I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about Happy Birthday, Delaware. Happy Birthday, Delaware. I mean, this is how small this state is. I'm like literally 25 minutes away from Biden's mansion. I could get to his house in 25 minutes. That's how small this state is. People don't realize it. And the thing is with Rhode Island at least has an Ivy League school. They have Brown University. We don't have an Ivy League school. They're trying to make University of Delaware into an Ivy League, trying to make it the eighth, I think the ninth Ivy League. I don't see that happening though. They need they'll have to lower their expectations and raise their expectations and raise their standards. I don't see that happening anytime soon. Even though they're gonna say, "Oh well, our president, he went to UD before," they're gonna cry and whine about all that. Hold up, Keith asked me, How far are you from FDMG? I don't know what FDMG is. You guys spell it out for me. I'm stupid. I'm slow. I don't know what FDMG means. I'm probably gonna be like, "Oh, okay, I got you," but I don't know what that means right now. You got to spell it out. But very fortunate, to be able to, do what I do because of the people, that protect this country. I was part of that. I was part of the people that will protect this country. But the ones that go beyond, one of the famous quotes from Chesty Puller, a great general in Marine Corps history, he said, "Old breed, new breed, as long as the Marine breed." That's one of the things that I noticed, and that's what I noticed about the state of Delaware. You have old history, you have new, history coming up. As long as it's history of Delaware, I'm all right with it. I'm in love with this state. I really love my state of Delaware. I'm a native son. I was born in Dover, Delaware, June 21st, 1988. I'm proud of the fact that I was born in Delaware. I was born in the capital of the first state on the first day of summer, and I just those quirks of history. I had nothing to do with it. Those are all accidents of history. I didn't have any control over it. But I'm proud to be a known Delawarean, somebody that can lift the flag of Delaware and champion it and continue on and let people know what it is about this state. That's what I'm most proud of. I'm proud of the fact that this state, it represents, industry, it represents, ideas, it represents creating, it represents building. It says, over 50% of the Fortune 5 companies are incorporated here. We get a whole lot of money from people, commuting and traveling on our roadways, at the tolls. We just have a whole lot of history. We have a whole lot of different quirks and different things that make us Delaware. I'm looking forward to creating more content that's related to Delaware that people probably will be like, huh. I'm sure. I'm like I already know it's gonna be like boring to people. We're like, okay, that's a snooze fest. Okay, that's but I'm still gonna put it out. I don't care. I'm from Delaware. That's our nature. We're supposed to be boring. We're not supposed to be flashy and jiggy and showing off our wares and everything like that. We're supposed to be boring. I'm telling you right now. So it's very encouraging to me. It's something that encourages me to be better, to be smarter, to be wiser, to continue to invest, continue to research in this state of Delaware. I'm very fortunate. to be a Delawarean. I think I'll stay here. I try to get out. I had 2 strikes against me right now. I'm not going to strike out probably. I mean, it would have to be a sincere move for me to get out, because most people do get out or have that idea like I did. Either you have the idea or you act and you actually follow through on it, or you just, it just remains an idea in quiet desperation. You have that same thing that's, sticks to your mind your whole time. You're like, I got to get the hell out of this state, man. I got to do something bigger and better for me. I got to do something, huge. I got to represent on another level. And it just gets to a point where you're not even, conscious of how, sincere you are when you talk about getting out of the state of Delaware. But when you come back home and you're like, damn, I love Delaware. God damn, I love this state. I really do. I really love this state. It is, out of the 50 nifty United States, I say it's the greatest. It is the greatest. It's number one. It is indisputable. You can put up any state next to it, and it'll fall down. It's the little engine that could. It's it's the small state. It's a small diminutive stature, but it's still a powerhouse amidst the wasteland. And that's why I respect it so much. That's what I like about Delaware. Delaware has given me so many opportunities, different ways of living. The fact that I came home from the military and was able to find employment. I mean, we have the consumption. We have no sales tax, or the no consumption tax. It really should be the opposite. It should be the no income state. Federal. There should be no federal income tax, and there should be no state income tax either. There should be taxes on your consumption, and there should be contracts. Like if you want to buy a house and you want that property to be protected, you pay the government a certain fee or a certain amount of money that they will protect your house. That'll go with the fire company. That'll go with so many different services, and you would pay for your house in in the time period that you live there. That would make sense to me. That's what I think is proper. I think that's rational. But so if you have any doubt about whether Delaware is a state that shouldn't be celebrated, come and talk to me. We can talk this out. We have a conversation. We can hash all this out. Real simple. Really simple. Simple. It's very simple. It's almost like it's a weird space because it's not talked about that much in the media. There's very few TV shows that have covered it. Some movies have been filmed here, but no, I don't think there have been any movies that have been set here. I doubt that. I don't think that's happened. I may be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But no, actually, I'm wrong. There was a movie that was in the early 2000s. I think I don't know if it was filmed here, but it had a quick setting here. But very few. It's very scant. Very few movies and TV shows are built around or concern Delaware. Very few. So we have to take into account the fact that Delaware is just this little tiny state that sprang up, said, we're going to be number one. We're going to be the number one state in the Union. Of this thing we call the United States. If there's going to be a United States, well, God damn it, we'll be the first ones to say we're going to be the ones that ratify this Constitution, the second most important document in all of human history. And that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to continue on with our ideals, our basis in reality, and our truths. What we can do with our lives, what we can do with the way we challenge each other and create create ways to overcome barriers. That's the beauty of this state. That's the beauty of it. It's rich with history. That's one of the. It's a history buff's treasure trove. But For all it is, I have to say Delaware is the greatest state because of all of it has to offer. So happy birthday, Delaware. Enjoy your day. That's a wrap for me for my show. If there are no questions, I'm gonna wrap it up, call it a day, and say it was fun. I appreciate the viewers. I see 4 viewers on my screen, 6 likes. We need to have 40,000 viewers and 60,000 likes. So that's what I'm talking about. So it looks like we're not having any questions. I made no money today. Nobody chipped in. That's all right. I understand. I still get money no matter what. I'm still gonna get money no matter what. Come on, let's not kid ourselves. But hey, remember Pearl Harbor Day. This is remembrance of Pearl Harbor Day. Always remember Pearl Harbor. I like how we say remember Pearl Harbor, not never forget. I hate never forget because it's a negative. Accentuate the positive. Always remember Pearl Harbor. And again, happy birthday, Delaware. If I don't see you tomorrow, I'll see you on Saturday. Thank you very much. Take care.